had to take a couple of days off, mainly because I just had to do some personal things, had to deal with this, but I did watch a good amount of movies in between the, 6 days I didn't upload anything. So, I got things to talk about. We might as well get into that little list of things, and that is the latest Batman animated movie, The Doom That Came to Gotham. I will admit, I am a little bit burnt out on DC right now, at least in the live-action sense. I still watch The Flash and I enjoy it, but I've actually been catching up on some of the animated movies recently. If you look at my letterboxd, even after watching The Doom That Came to Gotham, I have been racking up a good amount of the animated movies that I haven't seen. But out of the new crop of DC animated movies, I haven't seen all of them yet. I've seen Superman Red Sun, which I thought was okay. The Green Lantern one with Jon Stewart as the main character, I think it's called Beware My Power. That was okay as well. I didn't really think that was anything too special. There was a good twist in that one, though. The last one I saw was I think was the most recent one. I don't know if there was one that came out much recently, because I know Doom That Came to Gotham came out a couple months ago. But not only did I watch this, I also reviewed the Justice League and Ruby crossover, so if you look on my channel and my videos, you can see my review on that, which I had a shocking amount to say. But I have seen a good chunk of the earlier animated movies, especially the Batman-centered ones, and I'm a fan of a good chunk of them. And that, of course, applies to a lot of DC animated movies, and I have been looking forward to The Doom That Came to Gotham, mainly because I just watched it on HBO Max. I did not seek it out up until then. If you don't know what this story is, The Doom That Came to Gotham was a mini-series from the 2000s that I don't think it was spearheaded by Mike Mignola. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but the creator of Hellboy did an Elseworlds take on Batman set in the 1920s, where Batman takes on Lovecraftian creatures like Cthulhu. And this is an adaptation of that miniseries, which in of itself, the title of this comes from a Lovecraft short story called The Doom That Came to Sarnath. I am a little bit of a fan of cosmic horror overall, so to see that it is creeping into animation, albeit a direct-to-video DC animated movie. Although I think it's pretty cool that something cosmic horror related on this level is getting any kind of adaptation, and I think that's pretty cool. But what about the movie itself? Because recently I've noticed that DC animated movies have been a little more scattershot than they usually are, and just seeing that makes me sad, because DC is usually pretty good with their animated movies. And I will say, I think this is better than the Green Lantern movie I mentioned, and Red Sun, and the Ruby crossover, but I don't think it's that much better. I don't know how long or short this review is going to be, because my feelings on this are pretty cut and dry. There are a lot of great ideas and moments here, like seeing the Batman Rogue Gallery and seeing twisted Lovecraftian-inspired versions of them is pretty interesting, especially when it comes to Harvey Dent or Two-Face. I think that was such an interesting angle to take with a Lovecraftian-inspired version of Two-Face. Although what I will say, though, is there's an element of this story, and of also just many Batman stories in general, that I've never really been a giant fan of, and that's everything that has to do with the Al Ghul clan, and like Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul and all of them. I've never really cared for that stuff. That's why I feel like the Christopher Nolan trilogy of like the Dark Knight trilogy, I don't really hold it in that much regard, except for the Dark Knight. Mainly because it just sticks on that too much, and I'm not a giant fan of those. However, The Doom That Came to Gotham very much imbues the Lovecraftian cosmic horror stuff with the Al Ghuls, and I feel like just that alone made it so much more interesting, in that Ra's al Ghul and Talia are basically trying to summon Cthulhu, and it is going to bring the doom that came to Gotham. It is ending Gotham as we know it. And I really like that aspect. Honestly, it's the most I've enjoyed something in the Al Ghul department in Batman. Since it's an animated movie, I will say that the animation looks pretty nice. I don't really think it's anything to stand out. It's standard for your typical DC animated movie. I feel like they've always had like a steady line of, these movies look pretty good visually. There's always good character designs. The voice acting is usually pretty good as well, which I'll transition into the voice acting. There wasn't a bunch of names that I recognized in the cast list. There are a couple of names that I do want to shout out, though. Of course, we have to talk about, voice of Batman. That's David Giuntoli. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that name, but I actually really liked his take on Batman and Bruce Wayne. It it had a little bit of shades of Kevin Conroy, in my opinion. He really impressed me in this. Navid Negahban, who is actually, if you do recognize that name, or if you don't recognize that name, he played the Shadow King in FX's Legion show. He voices Ra's al Ghul in this, and also David Dastmalchian plays a person who is taken over early on by the cosmic horror, and that was a chilling performance overall. Outside of that, I think the voice acting's okay. There's a lot of familiar names in the world of voice acting, which admittedly is, but that's not my wheelhouse yet. I got to get used to that in terms of this aspect. But I think everybody did a pretty good job. Overall, I think the Doom That Came to Gotham was okay. There's a lot of really cool ideas here, infusing Batman, like the best strategist on the planet, with something that is so purely out of logic that there is almost no strategy to come up with. I feel like that is a really interesting juxtaposition of a hero taking on such a fantastical thing that I loved that aspect of it. And there are also some really fun character moments in here. Like there's I like this version of Green Arrow that's in this, but a lot of this just felt like wasted potential. It felt like they could have gone so much harder in the Lovecraftian elements and even in the Batman elements. There is a lot of Bruce Wayne here, which usually isn't a problem, but I feel like they always need to balance that out with this kind of movie. And it felt too it felt like too Bruce Wayne in some areas where there needed to be a little bit more Batman in some areas as well. So I'm gonna go with a 6 out of 10 for the Doom That Came to Gotham. It's not a train wreck. It's not a masterpiece either. But I think if you turn it on, I think you'll be able to have a good time with it, especially if you're into cosmic horror, and especially if you're in the Batman. So yeah, I think it's fine. My question for you is, what is your favorite Batman animated movie? I'm gonna lean it down to that. I think, in my opinion, I bet it's the easy choice. It's Mask of the Phantasm. That's my personal favorite. It's honestly not even that close. The one thing that's a second place is the Dark Knight Returns adaptation, which I love that. But outside of that, it's not really close to those two, in my opinion. Maybe you could make an argument for Under the Red Hood, but honestly, I think it's just that, and I don't think it's going to get passed anytime soon. So either way, what is your favorite Batman animated movie? Let me know what you think of The Doom That Came to Gotham if you've seen it in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!